Hello, everybody. So we're going to get started. Anybody who joins a little bit late are going to miss the intro, but that's okay. So welcome to the masterclass today. My name is Kelly, and I'm here with Rob. I am the manager of client success here at iGUIDE, and we are talking about DWG today. Rob is going to, he's our director of business development, and he's going to walk us through this brand new feature that we've launched last week. And we are all excited that you're here. We have new people, we have current customers, so we're gonna have some fun stuff to show off to you today, some brand new stuff that we're really excited about. So take it away.
That's right, Kelly. This is our 102nd Masterclass.
Yeah,
the only reason I remember that is because I was the 100th.
You were the 100th, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So just a quick review for everyone. The 100th Masterclass was another class we did about a month ago on another new feature from Plantar called real-time tagging. And there was a video of how we use our phone to go and gather tags within an environment and do that as you go through a property. The last masterclass we did 2 weeks ago was all about accessories. For example, on the Planix camera behind us, you can see the light that you can have, and Chris and Kelly did a great job of putting all the accessories. That's right, that's a halo light that's used when you're going to be shooting dark places. And as Kelly mentioned, this masterclass is all about another brand new feature from us. The ability to work with DWG files. So I'm going to go through some technical content about that and a live presentation of how you could use that in a product like AutoCAD as well. So thanks everyone for joining us. We're going to be managing a couple of screens. So if you do post a question in the chat window, we might not get to it right away, but we'll make sure we address all of them at the end if any of them come in. We apologize for having our heads cut off, but we wanted to have the DWG picture in the background,
yes,
just to illustrate what it is. And when I start sharing my screen, no one's going to look at us anyway. So let's just jump right into it. So I'm going to first go through a very quick PowerPoint, 3 slides. One of them's the title screen. So I'm going to go and say share my whole screen. And the first thing that I want to point out is we do have a landing page dedicated to this product called goiguide.com/DWG. And on that landing page, you can download a wonderful put together package, if I'm showing it correctly, wonderful package that shows you everything that I'm going to talk about today. So there are example properties, example DWGs, some of the related costing associated with this new so that's a really valuable resource, and I wanted to just share that and put that up there for everybody as well.
Yeah, and just to interrupt you quickly, if you'll notice in the screen behind us, the DWG image is actually from this page. So it doesn't include just those images, it also includes some sample download packages as well, so that you can actually play around with it. So I will leave up my scrolling, but we have a ton of great information on this page, as Rob mentioned, and it does capture basically all of the frequently asked questions, and it's kind of a catch-all for you guys to go and review later on.
All right, so let's just jump into this. For those that are maybe new to Plantar or new to our product, I'm just going to spend 30 seconds explaining what our products do, so you can kind of relate the storyboard of this DWG offering. So really quickly, we manufacture a camera capture device that allows you to capture spaces. It has integrated, photos, panos, 360-degree photos, plus an integrated LiDAR. Now, we're the designer and manufacturer of that product. You use that, like on a tripod behind us, to go and capture spaces. Once you've captured that space, you would upload that to our portal, and from there it kind of triggers a bunch of events. And there's 2 main outputs of those events. One is, or both of them are a floor plan and a 3D environment. So this is our core products. This is what we do. And when you do want to walk through a property, this is, again, our product. Again, just trying to bring everybody onto the same page just showing this is what the camera manufacturers, and moving forward with it. So what we're going to talk about today is how you can take that floor plan, the same floor plan that we've been doing for years now, and output that into a new DWG format. DWG is not new. It's not like we've invented a new form. It's been around for probably 25, 30 years, but it's a new workflow for us, and we're going to explain some of the advantages of that across multiple industries. So let's just jump right into it. We call this iGUIDE DWG deliverables. And again, I'm summarizing on one slide what's in that document that you can find on the webpage. And then we're going to go through and jump into AutoCAD and show you the output from our product and some of the new, what these new tools are going to do for you. So if you're not familiar with us, we break our drafting down into two pieces or two options. One is called iGUIDE Standard. The other one is iGUIDE Premium. And there are options within the DWG platform that differentiate among the standard and premium as well. And I'll just quickly highlight those. The first one is called AIA layer names. So in the past, and I'm going to show you one of our previous outputs and how it relates to layer names, but we've now aligned our layer naming conventions with the AIA standards. So again, not just random names, not just things we thought they sounded cool, but all of the layer names have now been standardized, which is really important for any architect or construction person in the space, that they know these layer names, and I'll explain what those are momentarily.
What does AIA stand for?
It's for the Architects International Association.
There you go.
There you go. And I'll highlight those once we get into the AutoCAD side of it. No scaling requirements. This was a big one. When we used to, so if you're a user and you didn't know this, when you ask for a standard or a premium iGUIDE today, you can go and download a DXF file of that property, of your property, and I'll show you that. But it was always in one system of units. It was always in metric. So you always had to kind of scale it if you wanted to do any drafting with the DXF file in an imperial format. We've done a really nice job of now making that as an ordering checkpoint up front that allows you to say, hey, I want this property done in imperial, and then you obviously get that delivered to you in imperial.
That's really awesome.
It is, because unless you were using CAD all day, every day, it was one of those hassle things that it was a step you had to go through. And if you didn't do it right, you're obviously potentially messing up your property.
For sure.
Another big change, again, at the not just the standard level, but the baseline for everybody, is that we've got uniform wall thicknesses to 1/2 inch, and we're now differentiating wall types on that drawing as well. That's really important, because on our previous drafting and when we were doing real estate properties in the past, the accuracy was not really super critical. Now across the board on the DWG file, we're making those wall thicknesses uniform, and that's really important when you want to go to the next step with your drawing, that you need to rely that the wall thicknesses are accurate, have been rounded correctly, and for construction or interior designers, things like that, that it's just a uniform new baseline. There's no strange things that you have to correct. Another thing is standard door sizes. Again, when we were drafting in the past, we didn't really care if it was a 30-inch door, a 31-inch door, or a 33-inch door.
No.
But when you're actually building a property, it kind of matters.
Size matters, guys. Size matters.
Size matters. I'm not going there. But that's now all been standardized with a set of templates, and will be delivered to you that way. And then floor-to-floor alignment is a touchy subject, but it's something we do very well now at the plan level. And we're going to show you an example of that, how if you have a property with 4 or 5 different floors, that they're all now aligned via internal walls. And we'll show you that in a couple of seconds. Obviously, we're also going to be drafting as well, which will be passed through at the DWG level, as structural elements. So if you've got columns or the location of equipment, that can be that will become standard as well. Now we'll move into things that differentiate between the premium and the standard, and there's some big ones in here. So roomed polylines for area calculations, I'll show you that. A big one is room labels, and I'm kind of going through this, and we're going to go through them all again when we get to the actual demo. but room labels. Our DXF files before were very blank, so you kind of had to have the DXF file and the PDF file and have both up at the same time. And it was a little bit of a hassle, but we've cleaned that up now. Now there are general dimensions in terms of square footage and ceiling that are now in the drawing. Again, you had to have the PDF and the DXF before, and you had to kind of manage both. And then some updates on the premium objects and the details associated with it. And that's it. So let's jump into it.
Two big questions for you before you get started into the nuts and bolts, the meat and potatoes. Number one, for those people who may have joined that are just excited because there's something new, but don't actually know what DWG is.
Yep.
Who uses DWG? Why do we care about it? Lots of people who are on here probably are here because they know exactly what it is, and they're going to use it immediately. They're going to go order a DWG right now on their next iGUIDE. But for those who aren't sure, can you summarize why do we care? What do you need it for?
So if you're outside of the real estate, let's say taking a picture of a house or taking a tour of a house, that floor plan is fine because we're used to using that floor plan as just a navigable map.
Correct.
How do I move from room to room, et cetera, et cetera. There are industries such as when you want to create a drawing for a true engineering drawing or a construction drawing of a property, and you need it at scale. So I need to know how do I get at the actual sizes, because I need to do other things with it. I want to put on electrical schematics. I want to put equipment in the room. I want to do all these other things to it, because if I go for, let's say, a building permit, I've scanned my property because I want to do some construction on it. And I need Steve to come in because they need to approve it, and I need to create a drawing package.
Okay.
You can't just hand them a PDF file. The building inspector is likely going to want a drawing, so he can go and look at it, add content to it. That's the key piece.
Okay.
Add content to it to make it a more intelligent document.
Okay.
Right? It's all about adding content and being able to reuse it in other applications.
Okay. And then for all the people who are here that know what DWG is, use it today.
Yep.
Before we get into the meat and potatoes, they want to know about what the price is, because if the price isn't right, you might not be interested. So what is the cost?
The cost, there is a cost because we are adding all this new value. So you've got your current standard and premium costs, and there's an additional cost of 2 cents per square foot on top of your standard and premium. So we feel with the amount of new things we're adding to this as a value add, that we're getting you further down that let's call it race to your value. The only people that typically do this are people that want to create a construction or interior design drawing and do other things for visualization purposes. All we're doing is, and we have a lot of customers that have done that with the DXF file, and they're doing, it works great, go to town. All we're doing is shifting the timeline for you to be able to get to your starting point.
Right.
So that comes at a cost because we're adding value to it.
Yes.
So now with those costs, you get a much faster starting point.
Okay, great. Let's get into it.
So let's get into it. And I'm going to exit the world's PowerPoint that we all hate. And again, for those that are new to us, I'll just quickly start at this point. This is an example of one of our demo properties. And for if you haven't seen us before, we typically, once we've drafted a property, we use that outline as our navigation map, as we were just talking about. So again, you click on a room, and as you click through it, we use that map that we've drafted, obviously on a different scale, but we use that map to navigate. And then as you kind of go through the facility, you get a 3D tour. None of that has changed. The only thing we've added is on the back end, you can say, I would like that map as a DWG file.
Right.
So maybe if you're a current user and you didn't know this, but if you are currently purchasing standard or premium iGUIDEs, you can, on the left-hand side of your screen, you can say, I want a DXF file. And you can download that. We do not charge. It's free with your standard and premium iGUIDE. So I'm going to show you an example of that in a few seconds. But if you haven't seen our product before, this is how we've got to this point of using our camera, scanning the property, getting the map, and outputting to a DXF has kind of been the way we've operated for a few years. And last Monday, we went live with this new capability. So I'm going to jump into AutoCAD 2024. You can get viewers that allow you to view DWG files, you don't have to have AutoCAD. There are lots of software packages that allow you to open a DWG file. And if anybody has a KeyEye, you'll notice I'm using a free trial of this. I'm not using a full license version, but I'll do it well for a few days. I'll use it for the purpose of this demo. We do see that there are a few questions coming in, and we will
address them at the end.
We will address them at the end. You're not being ignored. Nope. It's just with the screen sharing that we're doing, it's easier to just do this, and we'll handle those at the end. For those users who didn't know, this is what our DXF looks like today. You can go into your iGUIDE, you can press, I want a DXF, you open it, and this is what you're seeing. And a couple things to point out is that these areas up onto an AIA layered standardization. And you can see that on the current DXF platform, these are pretty generic names. So ceiling, doors, objects, et cetera, et cetera. And for those of you who aren't familiar with working in CAD, you have the ability to hide and unhide things pretty easily just by kind of turning off the light bulb. So if you just wanted to look at the walls, let's say, and the big thing is being able to show the LiDAR data as well. So that's something that did work really nicely and was a nice feature in the DXF file. And then we drafted your property to that, you output it, and you went from there. That's kind of, remember I said you only got one unit. So if you're used to working in inches and feet, this was in metric. So you had to scale it, and you were kind of limited what you could do with it, but that's why we're doing this DWG thing now.
So for those who may not be as familiar with this space, what is the advantage or benefit of having AIA layer standardization versus not? Like why does anybody care? What's the benefit here?
The benefit is to people in those industries. So it's not to Mr. Real Estate person. It's someone that's currently using products like Chief Architect or AutoCAD or Revit or things like that. That now when I switch over to the DWG file, you'll notice that all the layer names kind of become active for that project that I've expanded. Those naming and that naming convention is a standard. That's what it is. It's a standard layer name. So it means as you're pushing files around, as you're sharing it between contractor, resident, or things like that, that the people that are used to receiving that know exactly what's on those layers. So it's just, let's call it a standardized communication tool, like in a language.
Consistency, ease of use. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, and that's a great segue. So I'm going to be just not talking about the DXF anymore, but just to highlight that's
the differences.
That's the differences, and you can kind of see these side by side, and I'll just kind of do this real quick. It's a great visual of what's different between the two. And if I just go back, I don't want to cheat and misrepresent the situation, but this is kind of a side-by-side comparison of what we were delivering in the past.
That was free.
That was free, and you can do that today. And this is the same property now off of the DWG file. And obviously, there's a lot of cosmetic differences, and now I'm going to talk about all of those.
Okay.
All right, so I'm just going to expand this view. So again, one of the major differences when working with CAD, whether it's DXF or DWG in this way, when you open it up in a CAD file, is you have the ability to kind of play around with it in 3D. And that even though it's just a 2D floor plan, you can spin it around, you can kind of get better, different visuals, depth perception, and scaling out of it. But again, the first thing that we talked about, the first kind of two things that we've already talked about was layer naming. So again, you've got your standard layers and you've got no scaling. So this is all drawn in imperial. So we would deliver to you this now as in inches and feet. The other one's kind of hard to kind of talk about. You just have to kind of trust us at the moment. But all of these walls have a uniform wall thickness. In the past, we would kind of draft it based on the best position of the LiDAR, which may have meant, depending on the alignment, depending on how we perceive the drafting in the room, there may have been variations in wall thickness for logical reasons. We've now kind of moved away from that and are providing all of these. You can't have, 3 inches at one side of the property and 2.9 inches at the other side. It doesn't make sense. People build a 3-inch wall.
Yes.
As an example. I know that's not accurate, but it demonstrates the point. Again, kind of reiterating some of the other things that we've talked about, standardized door sizes. So again, when the LiDAR measured doorways in the past, and the draftspeople had to interpret the width of that door depending on the LiDAR data, some subjectivity in between, we just kind of drew it and said, hey, there's a door there. Now we're using drafting templates that said, hey, that's got to be a 30 or 32-inch door, whatever the standard sizes are. And as they drop that in, we get all the parameters about it.
So why should people care about those two pieces, the standardized walls and the standardized doors?
Because when you get into converting this into a construction engineering document or a 3D model, let's say, you want it to be accurate. And rather than you manually having to go through and check for thicknesses, check for inaccuracies, now you know that everything's been standardized and a standard thickness. If you're going to go in and say, hey, well, I'm going to be repairing that or doing some other things, and now it's going to be a 4-inch wall, it's easy to scale it, and everything's kind of goes that way.
So saving on time, because you can be confident in how we're creating the files, but then also increasing your confidence in being able to make decisions about the space.
Correct.
Because you know what we're giving you.
That's right.
Great.
Again, some things like the structural elements in the room, columns, if they appear, we'll be modeling those in. And then we kind of go into the details now. So obviously a big difference between the DWG and the DXF is room labels, just being able to put the data, what kind of room it is. You're used to seeing that on the PDF file. You're used to seeing that on the navigable map inside of the iGUIDE, but we never pass that information through
to the
DXF.
Correct,
and now we have, and on top of just the room identification, like office or bedroom or reception, whatever it is, we're also putting in the square footage of the calculated room, and then the ceiling height, which is another big new feature that was not available before in either the DXFs, standard or premium, where we're using the measuring tools within the iGUIDE 3D environment to measure floor to ceiling, verify it, do a quality check on it, and then print the ceiling heights as well. Again, that's in the premium side, but because the whole labeling is on the premium side, but it is allowing you to see and read that information that we just weren't passing through before. So if you wanted to take the DXF and be able to action it and do other things with it, like visualize or CAD or model on it, you kind of had to have the PDF with it so that you kind of could do what you need to do.
Gives you a head start, really gives you a leg up with all the information that's provided.
That's right. So it's kind of an all-in-one place of it all.
Yeah.
So obviously the room labels, there's some general dimensions, and then just having a unique starting point to be able to do additional dimensions. So whether you're using Autodesk or SolidWorks or whatever drafting package you want, just having this as a baseline with the uniform walls and all that stuff, it just makes it easier to get into your construction and permit drawings. That's kind of a real quick high-level overview. I'll just, for those of you who haven't worked with Autodesk, I'm not here to sell Autodesk. It's just an easy tool to explain a couple of the differences here. But if you wanted to get into kind of 3D visualization quicker than you're maybe currently doing it, it's very easy to come in and turn off the layers that you don't want to be working on. And I'll just set my walls to the current layer so you can drill down into the information that you want to be working on quite quickly. You can do additional things. I'm going to do a little CAD command here that just says I'll extrude things. And if I kind of say I'll just extrude all my walls and hit enter and say, hey, I'll just do it at 96 as an example. And now I have an 8-foot 3D, and now it's just visualization. So I'm not going to slam Autodesk or anything like that. It's just how you want the building or your floor plan to appear. So within like 2 commands in a CAD product, you can kind of have a better spatial sense of what you've just scanned, and kind of use it from there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Kind of the last thing that I'll kind of do before we jump back into the questions, again, I am not a CAD expert here, is talking about the floor-to-floor alignment. And the way that we are drafting the properties now, when you're submitting a multi-floor property, is we're aligning all of the floors by internal walls. Now, there's a lot of subjectivity and a lot of areas where that could be aligned to. Our first pass at this and what we're doing today is aligning by internal wall structures. So again, taking that as a step forward, I am going to go and turn all my layers back on, because what you can do is go and insert, let's say, layer 2. And I have all that ready to go. And if you just say insert, you will notice that you've now got the second floor on top of the first floor. And again, you could just simply extrude that down, repeat the same kind of commands that I was doing before. And that kind of concludes. We're going to be doing, we might do some future master classes on different alignment strategies, such as turning the camera sideways and bringing in vertical data, but that's for down the road.
Yes.
Hopefully that's been a good overview. I think this new product will again get you a significant portion of the down the road, and we're really proud of it, and we hope you like it.
Yeah, we're really excited about it. We do have 2 more master classes before our summer break, so look out for emails on that, and you're welcome to join whether you're a customer or not if you have any interest in those topics. And it's been a pleasure, Rob. It's been great to be here at DWG.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Take care.